I'm joined here by the editor of Year of Open Doors. It's Dr. Rodge Glass. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us.
No problem.
So, first of all, tell us a bit about yourself. You're author of 2 very successful novels and most recently a biography of Alistair Gray.
Yes, 2 novels, critically acclaimed, commercial failures. First one, No Fireworks, and second one, Hope for Newborns. And yeah, the Alistair Gray book that came out a couple of years ago.
Year of Open Doors, bit of a different project. This is the first time you've edited a collection.
Yes, it is. And perhaps the last. That's terrible. Yeah, it's the first time I've done it. It's a very new thing for me, but it was a lot of fun. Also, you learn that everybody writes in a very different way, so you have to tailor the way that you deal with everybody's work, which of course they're very attached to and sometimes very sensitive about. So it's important that you try and understand things from the writer's perspective and not just try and get everybody to write in the same way that you write. The key, I think, is to try and bring out the flavour of the story that's already there, but perhaps in a more help the writer to make that more coherent and more clear without putting your own stamp on it.
Obviously, we ran an open submissions process as well. How did you feel about that process? Is it more difficult to deal with unpublished writers, or how do you feel about the level of talent that was coming through the process?
Well, first of all, I think it was really important that we had an open element to it, because you could make a collection of stories of, there could be 100 writers, 150 published writers in Scotland that could get into this kind of collection. So it's really important that it seemed and was open for everybody. Obviously there were writers that I was passionate about, that I wanted in. There were few as well. We got to do a little bit of fighting over who goes in, but actually the most fun was discovering writers that we didn't know at all. Absolutely. And it was a lot of fun going through those. And when I say fun, I mean it was torturous.
You mean you enjoyed every moment working with me, and it was a great pleasure.
Absolutely,
of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was really pleased, particularly at the 3 that came through that have from the open competition process that have made it into the book. But there are others as well that we heard about, or I think if you knock around in Scotland for long enough and go to enough events, you hear about who's good, and then, or you go to see somebody at a festival or see them at a live literature night or something, and that's kind of like an open, ongoing competition as well, because you tend to gravitate towards interesting things. And there are lots of people who are passionate about what there is in this country, so we would constantly be getting recommendations on, you have to go and see this person or that person, and that for me was part of the open competition process as well, because there's far more than those 3 from the open competition.
Ethos of the book. Now, obviously, when we started out, we were talking about we didn't want to make this very, despite being called Year of Open Doors, we didn't want to make it all hippie and lovely and a big loving like you talk about in the introduction to the
book. There were no insects. There were no incense sticks burned.
And no insects either.
And no insects
of the book. Yeah. I mean, tell me about how you see the ethos of the book and trying to. Are we trying to help along Scottish literature, or are we really just exposing something that's already waiting there? Do you see any kind of particular trends or movement within Scottish literature towards certain styles?
There's 2 key things for me, I suppose. Well, first of all, in any recession, at any time where everybody's looking around fearfully, things generally get more mainstream in terms of what publishers take on. And so that can mean that there's actually a lot of critically acclaimed writers out there, people who are generally acknowledged as being very, very promising, but who are limited in terms of their opportunities. Particularly in the younger generation of writers, that all writers need time to improve and to practice, and that process doesn't stop after your first publication or after your first book. There's that famous quote about Graham Greene's editor saying to him 5 or 6 novels in,
Yeah.
"Ah, yes, I think you're beginning to get good."
Yeah.
And you don't have that opportunity or that amount of time anymore. Even some of the very reputable and independent publishing houses. So the first thing for me was being able to take some of those writers who are maybe not included in the usual roll call of who is the best in the best in Scotland or the best in the country, who are the most respected writers, people just underneath that older generation that are really, really well established. And there are a whole bunch of reasons why people might fall through the cracks. They could have been from somewhere else and settled here. Stylistically, it might not fit in, all that kind of thing. I think the work is very, very diverse. And so you can't say, well, Scottish literature at this time is like that. It's not all as simple as descendants of Kelman or descendants of whoever. Writing doesn't really work in that way, and that makes it far more interesting. But it means that sometimes people have to be given time and opportunity and space, and that's partly what the book was about for me. And partly also about being able to discover writers that wouldn't even get that first opportunity now, just simply because things are so tough out there. So we wanted to do something proactive, something forward-looking, but without being hippy-dippy. So, yeah, proud of what's here, drawing attention to what's here, and I suppose reclaiming a few people as well.
What else have you got coming up for yourself after the year of open doors?
Okay, well, for starters, I'm hoping that the band is going to be recording an album in the next year or so ahead of us, and there'll be other releases before then. Perhaps one including a song called The Year of Open Doors as well, which existed beforehand. Everything's all very self-referential. I've written a graphic novel, scripted a graphic novel, which is going to be coming out on Freight Publishing, who publish Gotta magazine and do the Scottish Review of Books and things like that. They do the design for the Scottish Review of Books. That's called Doogie's War, and it's a story about a Scottish soldier who returns from Afghanistan. So that's out in mid-September, and I'm trying to finish a novel. I'm very, very close to finishing a novel, which is about the least successful player for Manchester United ever. I used to play in the South Manchester Jewish under-13s league, a very serious league.
That's very competitive.
It was. But I was banned for trying to play with my inhaler in my hand. Have I ever told you that?
Yeah, you did tell me that. Yeah, a sporting career of brilliance cut short, really. Yeah.
I mean, it's shocking. It's shocking. I mean, the inhaler worked pretty fine. I could do a run and then rest for a bit and then take a puff, and then I was okay. I don't know what was the issue with health.
Well, that's what Cantonat was like back in the day as well. So it's.
Paul Scholes has got asthma, and you don't see him with any puffer problems.
Rodge Glass, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
So it's worth reminding that the book is released on the 27th of July, the same day that the audiobook is also released. That's Rodge telling you to go get it. Our launch party is at Watson's in Sauchiehall Hall Street, and you're very welcome to join us for performances by Aidan Moffat, Jason Donald and Kirsten Innes. So look out for us on our Year of Open Doors tour, and thanks very much again to Dr. Glass.